pleasure right now to welcome to the program today author of a really fascinating book. It's called How to Be a Movie Star, Elizabeth Taylor in Hollywood. We're joined by the author of the book, William J. Mann, from up in New York City today. William, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to get a chance to talk to you. I know you wrote a book previously about another icon of cinema who was kind of misunderstood, I think, too, Kate Hepburn. So this kind of thing follows that pattern, I guess, right? That kind of topic?
That's right. I wanted to kind of continue to look at how people live in the public lives and create these enduring legends in Hollywood.
Elizabeth Taylor, I mean, notorious, because we've all seen the stories and the image of her, but she really hasn't done that many interviews over the years. I think there's a couple of appearances occasionally on talk shows, but nothing really in depth. Was it difficult to get kind of behind-the-scenes stories about her?
Well, you're right. Elizabeth Taylor was never driven by fame. You know, she was never the one that, I have to have the cameras on me, I have to talk to the interviewers. And so there would come a time, she always told us there would come a time when she would step back, and she's done that now. She gave her time to the public, and now it kind of lives a rather private life, though she does make some public appearances. But I think people recognize that about her, and they have a great respect for her. So, and I think they recognize that I was having the same respect for her, and that my book was going to be a little bit different. It wasn't just going to be yet another retelling of her life story. And so people did come forward and talk to me about her and about her life and how she did this incredible job of becoming a movie star.
She really epitomizes, when you look at the term movie star, you would think of her first, just the image of her as basically a child actress first, right, going back to National Velvet and then growing up to a glamorous movie star. Really came from, age 10? Is that when she started?
That's right. She was a little girl. Her mother brought her first to Universal and then to MGM, where she got a contract, and of course, became a star with National Velvet, and went on to become, one of the biggest stars. And that's what made her such a perfect model for this kind of study. I mean, the book is called How to Be a Movie Star, and that's really what I was writing about. I was writing about how they made movie stars back in her day, and then how she took those lessons that she learned at MGM and, on the back lot by the publicity department at MGM, and took those lessons and became an even bigger star when she went out on her own in the 1960s and made Cleopatra and did a series of independent pictures, and really set the template. She created the blueprint for the way stars live today. It all goes back to Elizabeth.
Yeah, she started in the studio system where basically everything was done for you, and then when that ended, I guess, in the early to mid-50s,
right.
You really had to be an independent contractor after that, learn how to do it yourself, right? Or at least be your own entity at that point.
That's right, and also you had to have some really shrewd people around you working for you, and Elizabeth did. She had an agent by the name of Kurt Brings who got her $1 million to appear in Cleopatra, and not only that, but also a share of the profits. And of course, that's the business model of Hollywood today. You don't just, in the old studio days, you had a contract made, so much per picture. Now, of course, it's all about getting the stocks and the cuts and the percentages, and that goes back to Elizabeth and her very crafty agent in 1962.
Talk a little about her family upbringing. I didn't realize until I read your book that her family was relatively well-to-do, wasn't it?
Well, they were. They started out fairly middle class in this country, but her father was an art dealer and went to London before the war and moved into the British aristocratic circles and was embraced by them. And so Elizabeth grew up very pampered, very privileged, and that was where she got her taste for the kind of life she would see as a movie star. She liked those yachts and those diamond rings. That was something she learned very early on.
There was nothing wrong with that.
No, absolutely not. Well, in fact, in many ways, that's why she stayed a movie star. She wasn't like my Katharine Hepburn, my last subject, who needed to be in front of the camera, who needed the spotlight, who wanted to be in the public eye all the time, even though she pretended she didn't. Elizabeth Taylor, for her it was the perks. It was like, okay, I'll make another movie because the director's going to give me a nice diamond necklace or something, or I'm going to be able to buy a new yacht and sail around the coast of Mexico. So I mean, that was her lifestyle.
Was she considered a great actress in her day? Did people look at it that way, or was it just an image of her that people enjoyed?
Not at the beginning. She was so beautiful, in the 50s that people thought she was just simply window dressing for a lot of those movies that she made at MGM. But then when she would work with a director who was willing to take the time and really work with her and get her into the part, and where she had good material, and that didn't happen very often, but when it did, it was quite extraordinary. A film like A Place in the Sun, where she worked with George Stevens, that performance, she was just 17 years old. She's phenomenal. And then, of course, with Mike Nichols in Who Was Afraid of Virginia Woolf, nobody could believe that this girl who had never had an acting lesson in her life could pull off such a powerhouse, depthful performance as she did, and won an Academy Award for it, deservedly so.
And she's obviously overcome a lot of illnesses and different setbacks throughout her entire life, but you got to call her, what they used to say, of people back then, they're survivors, right? I mean, you call her in the business.
Absolutely, she's one of the great survivors. She had both health problems and heartache. Her third husband, Mike Todd, was killed in a airplane crash. There was Richard Burton's drinking. There was the deaths of good friends like Monty Clift and Rock Hudson. She's somebody who's risen above it all. And as I say, I think in the end she's looked back and she says, I've lived a pretty good life. And I think she, unlike some stars who ended up so alone and so kind of lonely and living in the past all the time, that's not Elizabeth Taylor. She's really triumphed. She's really survived.
Yeah, she's done a lot of work on the AIDS and HIV, raising money for that, so give her credit for that as well. Even after her movie career has been done, she's still out there doing that.
And exactly, and again, whether it was her charity work around AIDS or it was selling her perfumes or her jewelry line, she's always done it with that movie star flair, and that's where she learned how to be a movie star and has carried that through to everything, to whether it's she's testifying in front of Congress about the need for AIDS research, or she's going on television, making television commercials for her White Diamonds perfume. I mean, she knows how to do it. She knows how to do it.
Well, it's the type of book that if you're a movie buff, even if you're not, it's filled with great stories. It's called How to Be a Movie Star, Elizabeth Taylor and Hollywood, kind of the old Hollywood, and taking us through to today. And William, I appreciate you joining us today. And what's your next project? Do you know yet?
Yes, it's going to be called Hello, Gorgeous, Becoming Barbara Streisand. So I'm staying in the world of the divas and exploring again fame and how people live in the public spotlight.
Well, we'll look forward to talking to you when that comes out. But in the meantime, do you have a website you want to direct people to, William, for this book?
Sure, it's WilliamJMann.com.
Well, we appreciate you joining us today for a few minutes, and we'll look forward to talking to you when the Barbara Streisand book comes out next year.
Great, I'd love to.
Thanks for being with us.